All right, so we are recording. So thank you so much to everyone joining us today. It's a thumbs up day, right? It's a Friday. That's always a thumbs up day for me too. So I'm so excited that you're joining us for another STEM Friday program today. I hope that you've been enjoying this series. I know that I have. It's been pretty fun. And it's been fun to make the kits up with my coworkers too. So I just want to go over the rules as I normally do before we get started. So a lot of you have heard this already, but that's okay. So you guys are already in the program. If you can just make sure, because we have so many kiddos in here, if we could just keep our audio off for the program until we get to the end. That way you can hear me very well. Sometimes, and I'm sure that some of you kiddos are already doing school Zoom classes, some of you. It can be a little difficult if we start talking over each other. So I just want to make sure that you can hear me, especially because I'm staying safe and wearing my mask because I'm here at the library. So I want to make sure that you can hear me very well, right? So let's see. I already told you guys that we are recording, but that's okay. So if at any point you don't want to be recorded anymore, or you have to leave or go in a different room, feel free to go ahead and turn your video camera off. That is no problem. I have it right now so I can see all of you at once. That way I know that we're all in the same place with talking about coding today and making our bracelets, which is going to be pretty fun. Let's see, what else do I want to tell you? So because we have our audio off, I do have my chat box up. So if you have any questions for me or are having a problem or are confused about something, or just want to say hello as well, you're more than welcome to go into the chat. And I'll make sure that I keep taking pauses so I can look in there and see, oh, okay, Vivek has a question. Okay, Vanille has a question. Maybe Izzy has a question, or Molly has a question, or Riley has a question. Alyssa, maybe one of you has a question. So I'll just keep checking, okay? But I know that we're good for right now. I'm just going to go ahead real quick and make sure that I'm not missing anyone that wants to join. No, it doesn't look like that. Okay, so I think I know a lot of you, but I do see a couple new faces, so I'll just go ahead and reintroduce myself. So my name is Miss Tara, and I'm the Youth Services Coordinator over at the Wernersville Public Library. So I know that some of us do know each other, but other people, we might not know each other. So if you if you ever come to the library with your grown-ups, I'm always here pretty much most of the time. I can help you find books on a specific topic, or you can come pick up kits to come do these programs with us too. Especially because they're going to stay virtual for, we're not sure how long yet. So I'm so glad that you guys are here today. So if this is your first time doing the kits, like I said, I know that some people have been here before, but some of you may not have been here. The way that it works is that when you go ahead and you pick up a kit, it actually has the supplies for 2 different programs. So when you open it up, you don't want to utilize everything or use everything that is in your kit today. You'll see there's an instruction sheet for both programs. There is, I think, a couple pipe cleaners. Hi, Alyssa. Nice to see you. So you'll see that there is, oh, hi, Jamie. Thank you. So you'll see that there is a couple different things, and we'll go over that. But make sure you put the stuff for the BristleBots to the side, and you don't touch it for today because that's our program for next week, which I hope that you guys can make. But if you can't, that's why the instruction sheet is in there so that you can follow along without me. Although I will say for that one specifically, it is nicer to see it in person because it can be slightly confusing, right? But that's okay because that's how science is sometimes. So yeah, we would love to have you attend the BristleBot program, and just make sure that you put everything to the side. But we'll talk about what we need today in just a couple minutes here. Very good. Awesome. Okay, so first, if I could have you guys take out your kits for me. If you could hold up that you have your kit. Awesome. Oh, see, you guys are on the ball today. You're already ready. Okay, so a couple of the things that we're going to use today are, and I'll show them one by one here. We're going to use a pipe cleaner. We have all different colored pipe cleaners. The fun thing about this is you can bend it and not mess it up, but don't bend it too much because we are going to use it to make our coding bracelet, which will be fun. Another thing that we're going to use is you should have a worksheet that looks like this. It says binary bracelets on the front. And it has all these weird dots, all these black and white dots. I wonder what we're going to learn with this. Very good. Some of you are showing me your instruction sheet. That's also important. Make sure you hang on to that, because if you want to do this on your own at home, you could use this and your instruction sheet at another time. Yes, and if you have the BristleBot stuff, just make sure you leave that stuff to the side, because all those pieces are very important. They'll each be used during that program. Finally, we should all have a bag of some colorful beads. You should see there's a bunch of yellows, a bunch of blues, and a couple pinks. Very good. Okay, I think everyone has it. Awesome. Okay, that's what we were hoping for. But so what we're going to do today is we're going to talk a little bit about coding, a little bit about the binary alphabet and how that breaks down. We're going to talk about what those dots next to those letters mean on your worksheet. We're going to do a little bit of practicing to go ahead and make something called a byte, B-Y-T-E, not bite like a bite of a cheeseburger. We're going to talk about that a little bit, and then we're going to go ahead and make our bracelet. So before we get started with any of that, I want to tell you guys what the definition is of coding, or what code would be. I'm just going to make sure I have my chat on the right thing. Okay, so who wants to take a guess about what it means to code something? Would someone want to tell me in the chat what they think it means to code, or what the definition of coding might be? And there's no wrong answers here, because honestly, I had to do a lot of research for this program too, and I learned a lot. Because people know at the library, I'm definitely not the first technologically savvy person, but I'm definitely not the worst off either. But I did have to do a little research. Let's see, Vanille says, coding means creating some instructions for a computer. Very good. That is a very good description of what coding is. Does anyone else want to take a shot at that, or do they all kind of agree? Let's see. Create something with technology. Very, very good. You are very right in that. Awesome. Let's see. If anyone else wants to put, oh, Alyssa has one. There we go. I saw it, Alyssa, sorry. I think it means programming a thing to do something. Yeah, you're right. 100%. That's exactly what it is. So I'm going to read you what I have as my definition here. So coding, and it kind of actually wraps everything that you guys said it was in. So you guys are really smart cookies. I'm super proud of you. So coding is a skill where you take a set of instructions, okay? So it's the steps in a task. And then you translate it into a language that a computer can understand. So since computers do not communicate like us, they don't speak words, right? They communicate in numbers, which is where the math comes in. They actually communicate in a language called binary, which is why we have that worksheet that says the binary alphabet. And it's really cool. Like I said, they use numbers, so they actually use zeros and ones. And it's in a different order depending on what letter or what you're trying to create. So coders are using these numbers and using the binary language to create some kind of software or a program or an app. And that is what coding does for us. So this actually leads me to the idea of software coding, or how a software actually translates into coding. So one example I have that maybe some of you might know is video games. So like the game Fortnite. Does anyone here like Fortnite? You guys might be a little young for that. A couple of you though. Okay, I have a brother that loves that game. I know some of us, Alyssa, we're in the middle or down. It's either people love it or they dislike it, right? And that's okay too. So how about games like Pac-Man? Has anyone ever seen Pac-Man where it goes bop, 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 and it eats up, or you can eat the ghosts? Oh, Alyssa just got really excited. Jamie got really excited. Vanille has a thumbs up. Riley's kind of sideways. I think it's Liam has his thumb up, right? I really like Pac-Man and Mrs. Pac-Man. And so coders helped create those different softwares or those games, which is pretty cool. Another thing that your parents might use is something called Google Maps. So when they want to go to a location that's maybe on their phone, that's a software that coders created, which is very cool. Last thing that some of you may have in your car, I do not, but some people do, is in your dashboard where you would like put a CD in. I used to put CDs into my car to listen to. You would have my coworkers laughing because we all know that not everyone listens to CDs anymore. But your touch screen in your car, some people have those and some people don't. That is something that coders worked on to make happen. So who wants to tell me in the chat what they think the word coders means? Like what kind of people code? Give me suggestions. What kind of people would be called coders? Go ahead and type it in the chat just because we have so many of us. If it was a smaller group, I'd mute and unmute, but it'll be a little easier in chat. And I promise at the end we'll take the sound off too. Okay, let's see. So Alyssa says the people who control computers. That's one way to look at it for sure. Let's see, a technology person. That's very true. Anyone that would be interested in technology and who would want to create software for a computer would end up coding. Very true. Oh, Ashton says me. You are definitely going to be definitely closer to a coder after this program. All of you will be because we'll make these really awesome bracelets. Let's see, and then let's see. There are people who code doodles on Google. Oh, doodlers. Yeah, that's very cool. That's awesome. Yeah, there's so many avenues and ways to go with this. It's really neat. Like I said, video games, apps on a telephone, so games on there, anything that you could think of, you know, like the PlayStation handheld games, anything like that. So coders are people who code. They write instructions for software, and they use, I'll pull out my worksheet again, they use this binary program language, right? So one of the things that they use, which I mentioned before, is they use a lot of math to code, right? So you can even see on your worksheet, if you look at your worksheet, who can tell me in each letter how many squares they see next to each letter? Now, I don't mean the whole page, but just per letter, how many squares next to each letter do you see? You see 4 initially, right? But think of the whole string. If all these squares here are one letter for a computer, they're actually numbers. We're looking at squares, but for a computer, these would be numbers. It's 8. Right, very good. Oh, your favorite game is Donkey Kong. That's a great game. Very good. You guys are all fantastic at this. Right, so every letter we see here has 8 squares, but that means for every letter for a computer in the binary language, we would have 8 numbers, which would either be zeros or ones, okay? So let's see. I'm gonna come here really quick and I just want to show you guys. So I want to actually break down what it would mean to make our binary bracelets today. So let's go ahead and go over real quick with our squares here. As I mentioned, they're all zeros or ones when you look at them. Okay, so the zeros would actually be the black squares. So anytime you see a black square next to a letter, that would be a 0 in a computer. Anytime that you see a white square next to a letter, that would be a 1, and it becomes a pattern. So if you guys look at the bottom here of your sheet, okay, it goes and suggests for you to find the first letter of your first name. So the very first letter of your first name. I want you to find that first letter on this sheet, okay? And I want you to look at the pattern that is for whatever letter starts your name. Like my name is Tara, so my letter would be T. So I'd be right here. This is my pattern here from the binary alphabet. So what I'd like you to do is, if you look at the bottom here, there's 8 squares along the bottom. I want you to take the first letter of your name and color in the code based off of the pattern that you see here. Okay, so let's do that for just about 2 minutes, because I know it can be a little tricky. And while you guys are doing that, I'm actually going to tell you real quick. So what's really cool is that each number on this sheet would actually be called a bit. It's kind of funny, right? It's normally the past tense of byte, but once again, that's not the truth here. So each one of these is called a bit. So per letter, there's 8 bits. Okay, so every string of a letter has 8 bits in it. Very good. Oh, I see an R circled for Riley. Awesome. So each string of 8 bits is actually called a byte. So remember how I said each one of these squares, each one of these numbers is called a bit. And then each string of 8 is called a byte. So what you're going to do is you're going to pick the first letter of your name, and whatever that first letter is showing in its pattern, you want to color in on these squares. So my letter is T. So I'm going to go ahead and color in here. Let me just scroll down. So mine is, okay, and then, okay. So that's our first step with this. So this is my byte right here. Oh, very good. Is that Izzy, or is that's Molly holding hers up? Very good. Very, very good. Oh, Izzy's is done too. Awesome. Oh, very good, Sean. Awesome. Oh, Vanille, very good job. Alyssa, I see yours too. Very, very good. Let me just look real here. I'm just scrolling up real fast. Okay. Oh, David, I'm sorry. Your dad's name is Sean. I apologize. I saw yours, David. Very, very good. All right, so you guys mastered this pretty much. So this is my byte. So right now you already know, out of these 8 numbers here, or 8 blocks, you have each one is a bit, but the string of them is called a byte. And that's what we have on the bottom here. Now, I have your next challenge before we get to our bracelets. So we have our code, we have our byte is right here. This whole thing right here is called the byte. Now that you know how the pattern goes, remember how I said that the black squares would stand for zeros and the white squares would stand for ones? I want you to write your numerical code below your byte here. So I know that's a little tricky. So if my first one in my byte is a black square, I know it's blue pen, but if it's a black square, that means I'm going to put a 0 underneath here. Okay? So if your first square is colored in because it's a black square, you're going to put a 0. If it's not colored in because it's a white square, you're going to put a 1. Very good. Oh, awesome. You guys are doing pretty quick with aha. See? Okay, you guys are quick learners. All right. So let's see. So mine is going to be a 1, 0, 1, then a 0, 1, 0, 0. Let's see. Okay. See, here's this. So this is my byte down here. And this, if we were the computers right now, they would eat up these numbers. They go munch, 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 munch. And they would understand that we're trying to, at least for me, that I would try to put the letter T in here. So if you were computers, however your name, the letter that your name starts with, the computer would go munch, 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 and it would take it in. So for Alyssa, her numbers would be the letter A. Oop, very good. Let's see, for David, his letters would be, or his letter would be D that he would show. Riley would have the letter R on the bottom for her bite. Vanille would have the letter V for his bite. Izzy and Molly, Izzy would have an I and Molly would have an M. Let's see, who else? Vivek would have a V as well. Let's see. And then Ashton would have the letter A. Very good, as his bite here. Awesome. Okay, I'm super proud of you guys for that. You did really great. So I think we're ready to move on to our next part. Okay, so we discussed a bit. We discussed a byte, which is the string of 8 bits. Okay, and that's how the computer is taking in the numbers to understand. So knowing that we have all our letters here, what I would like you to do first is I would like you to find the first letter of your name again and the first letter of your last name. So go ahead and circle them like I circled mine. If you don't mind, you can circle your first letter of your first name and your first letter of your last name. And go ahead and circle it. Very good. Okay. Then on the back of your paper, don't look at my numbers yet. I want you to write the first letter. I know this is backwards for you guys, but the first letter of your first name on the left-hand side and the first letter of your last name on the right-hand side. And go ahead and put a line under there just like I did. And if anyone has questions yet, feel free to write them in the chat. But we're going to write the first letter of your first name and the first letter of your last name. Very good. Ashton's ready. Let's see. Hold it up when you're ready for me to see. Okay, Ashton. So you're going to write your first letter of your first name, and the first letter of your last name. Okay. So if you're ready at that point, what I want you to do now, knowing from the front, you have all your different bytes here. I want you to go just numerically and figure out what your first letter would be and what your last letter would be based off of numbers, not off the colors, okay? So if you're, let's see, for me, my first letter of my first name is T. So we now know that if you have a black square, it stands for the number 0. If you have a white square, it stands for awesome. It stands for the white for number 1, okay? So under your letters, I want you to figure out your byte, but just numerically. So for mine, you can see for my first name, I know it's backwards, guys, I apologize, but mine is 01010100. So what would you think your numerical byte would be for the first letter of your name? You can look on the front. If you get confused, you can write like I did. Oh, it's a little blurry. But I wrote above the colors. So remember, the black squares are 0s and the white squares are 1s. So you can go to the first letter of your first name and you can write them above the squares. And then you can do the same thing with your last name. Oh, Alyssa, were you trying to show me? I'm sorry. I had the paper in front. See, that looks very good, Alyssa. So see, let me see. Be 0, 1, 0, 0, 0. Let's see. Yes, very good. Good job. Oh, Vanille. Oh, were you showing me? Sorry, bud. Oh, very good. Awesome job. I can see both bites there for both letters. Oh, Ashton, very, very good job. You did a great job, bud. All right, we'll give it another minute for everyone to work on this, okay? Oh, David, good job. Very, very good. I know that can be a little complicated, but I think you guys are all smart cookies because you got it pretty quick. But if you're not getting it very quick, that's a-okay, because I'll be honest with you, math is not my best subject, but I think it's really cool to try things that maybe you're not even good at or you don't feel that you're good at, because that's how you become better. And that's okay. Just always remember that. Even if something is hard or difficult, it's worth trying because you never know if you'll like it. And that's the only way that you get better. If that's schoolwork or, oh, is that Riley's? Oh, very good, Riley. You guys are all so smart. I'm super proud of you guys. All right, so we have tackled many challenges so far, right? We've talked about what this means, and then we figured out numerically what it means. Now I have the final challenge, okay? So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna take our beads. This is the fun, creative part, but it's also still involving the math. So we have our beads and we have our pipe cleaner, right? I know, but math is used in so many different ways you wouldn't even know. Like, for instance, sometimes we'll say, oh, I don't like math, but how would you know how many pieces of candy you have if you don't count them? That's math. Or if you play hopscotch or something like that at recess, how would you know how many times you have to hop if you don't know what number to hop to? So all these things, they kind of come together. So you're gonna have your beads and your pipe cleaner. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna make our bracelet using the binary alphabet. So what I want us to do is, just like we figured out our first letter of our first name and our first letter of our last name, now we're going to take the beads, and the beads are going to represent the numbers or the squares like we saw on our worksheet. Okay, so I'm going to explain this real quick to you guys. So you see how these squares here are either black squares or white squares? And they stand for either zeros or ones, right? Well, in this case, the beads that we have, the blue beads, okay, the blue beads, they stand for the zeros, so the black squares. So the blue stands for the black squares or the zeros, whichever way you'd like to think about it. The yellow beads stand for, let me see, they stand for the white squares, and they stand for the number 1. Okay, so if you need to write that out, if it's slightly confusing, you're more than welcome to do that also. Let's see, on which side of the paper? Oh, Molly, I'm sorry, I just saw that. So were you talking, let me just pause, guys. Molly, were you talking about when we were doing this part? So for on your left-hand side, that's okay, because we have more than enough time, and I'm sorry I just saw your comment. On the left-hand side, you want to put the first letter, so you'd put M here, the letter M. And then, I'm not sure what your last name is, but you'll find the first letter of your last name, and you'll put that right here. And if you put it opposite sides, that's a-okay. I just thought it was easier to look at it that way. But that is a-okay if not. And then what you want to do is, looking at the front here on our worksheet, we'll go back to say we have the 8 dots, the 8 squares that creates the byte for the coding, and you want to follow that pattern, but you want to convert them into your numbers. So your black squares, Molly, your black squares stand for zeros. The white one is the number 1. Yep. Oh, yes, David, sorry. So the white squares are the number 1s, and the black squares are the number 0. Can you, let's see, raise your thumb up in the air if you're still working on this part of the program. Oh, which color? Okay, that's a-okay, Molly. We'll take, guys, just so you know, we're gonna take like the next 5 minutes just to try to finish up this side, if you're still working on it, and then we'll move forward because I don't want to leave anyone behind, okay? Because I was always that kid that needed more time, so we can definitely have more time. That's fine. And to those that are already done but they're waiting, you can always practice making your bite for your middle name for the excuse me, for the first initial of your middle name if you're just waiting. If you're still working on this part, just stay focused here. If you're waiting to move on to the bracelet, try challenging yourself by finding the first letter of your middle name and figuring out that bite. Guys are all doing so good, and I know that this can be a little challenging, but that's why we're doing it all together. Thumbs up for that. Okay, David, we're just going to give a couple minutes, okay? And then I'll get right back to you. Oh, very good. Awesome. Izzy, Molly, I saw that. You guys did a great job. Does it make a little bit more sense now? Yeah? Awesome. Okay, I just didn't want to, you guys always let me know if you need more help, okay? Promise. All right, so we've gone and done this part. Like I said, I know it can be a little challenging because honestly, even for me, just so you guys know, it was challenging for me to learn it too. So we were all learning it together. So we figured out the numbers of our bite per letter. Now we're going to move on to our bracelet. So like I said, we're going to have our pipe cleaner, which is going to be used for our bracelet, and then we're going to have our beads. So I'll go over this again, and don't, like, if you have any questions, feel free to type that in the chat for me. I'm actually just gonna make sure everyone could see what I would type real quick. Okay, so we have our 3 colored beads here, okay? So just to make sure that I'm not leading you astray here. Nope, okay, so your blue beads. See how you have your blue beads in here? Your blue beads are gonna stand for your black squares. Who remembers what our black squares stand for numerically? Would you like to type it into the chat for me? Very good. Okay, so I see that the black squares stand for 0. Very good job, guys. Okay, so then our next color bead is yellow. Okay, what did our yellow is our white squares. What did our white squares stand for? Who wants to type that in the chat for me? Very good. Very good, David. So 1, exactly. Vanille, very good. Okay, so when we're going to make our bracelet, what we're making our bracelet out of is our 2 initials that we figured out the code for here. Okay, we're just converting that into our bracelet. So anywhere that you see, let me see, because I don't want to confuse you guys. Anywhere that you see a 0 in your code, you want to use a blue bead. And anywhere that you see a 1 in your bite for the initial of your name, you want to use a yellow bead. And you want to split, Alyssa, yeah, exactly. That's why we did it this way, so it's less confusing. So, and the pink ones are in here because what you can do is you can do your first initial of your first name and then put a pink dot in the middle so that it breaks up the first initial, and then also your first initial of your last name, and then that way they don't blend together. Okay, so that's what we're going to work on for the next couple minutes here, is first start with the first initial of your first name and go off numerically. If you see a 0, who says, let's see, if we have a 0, we're going to use a blue bead. Okay, and if we see a 1, we're going to use a yellow bead. Yes, yep, definitely, Alyssa, exactly. So if that's easy for you guys to write down, we could also do it that way. I'll write it down for you. So let's see. A blue bead stands for 0. And a yellow bead stands for 1. Oops. Oh, shoot. The lighting in here is kind of difficult. Sorry, guys. And I know it's backwards. But the blue beads stand for the 0s. And the yellow beads stand for the 1s. So you can go and follow your code that you wrote down, and you can look and say, okay, blue, yellow. Like for me, it would go blue, yellow, blue, yellow, blue, yellow, blue, blue. That would be my first initial. My last initial right here, okay, would be blue, yellow, blue, 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 yellow, yellow, yellow. So see, it's very different from my first initial. And you can put a pink bead right in the middle to break up the blues and yellows on your bracelet. Give me a thumbs up if you understand. Give me a sideways thumb if you want me to explain it again. Oh, okay, no problem. Okay, so it looks like most people, but I'll go over it one more time. Why is there a green bead? Oh, so David, so some of them are close to green, but they're actually supposed to represent the yellow. So they're appearing to be green, but they're actually more of a yellow bead. It's not actually green green. Yep, see these ones? So whatever one is most close to yellow, okay? David, does that make sense? Thumbs up if it makes sense, thumbs sideways if not so much. Okay, let's see. I lost David. Does it make sense, David? Thumbs up or thumbs sideways, not so much? Oh, thumbs up? Okay, awesome. You guys are doing great. Let's see, how's everyone else doing? Ashton doing good? Okay. Alyssa doing good? Okay. All right, Riley, I'll explain it definitely one more time, okay? So, oh, hi. Okay, so how we have is we have 3 different color beads. Now, to some of you, the yellow ones may look more green, but they're actually yellow, okay? So what we did initially is we broke our initials down into the numerical byte here for the computer language. So we have 0s and 1s. Now, if we look at the front of our sheet, we had white and black squares. And the black squares stood for the number 0. And the white squares stood for the number 1. So what we did is let me just move the chat box out of the way. We went and found our first initial and the first initial of our last name. And we changed that from the squares in the front to the numbers that they would possess for the computer. So each letter has a different code. And like I said, if you're looking at the template here on the worksheet, the black squares stand for a 0, the white squares stand for a 1. So what you can do is you give each initial, so your first initial, you find the letter, like my name is Tara, so I found the T on the front, and I found that pattern, and then I put the numbers to that pattern. I know our webcam, it gets a little blurry there, but we went ahead and wrote that out. And then we have both our first initial and our last initial here. Now, I know that the bracelet is the most challenging part. So what we're doing is, I wrote it on this sheet, but for the blue beads, okay, the blue beads stand for the black squares. So for every place that you'd find a 0 in your initial, you're going to put a blue bead. And every place that you'd find a 1 in your initial, you're going to put a yellow bead. And so you can follow that pattern of the colors that way on your bracelet. And you can use a pink bead to be the divider between the two. Oh, awesome. Okay. The beads don't. David, you have to just find the hole is very small, but they do fit because I definitely tried them out. just try to find maybe the hole. Sometimes it takes a little bit of finessing. Thank you very much for asking questions. I appreciate it. I'm trying to go between answering and making sure that we're good. So I'll get started on my first initial, and then we'll see where we get to. Also, you guys might have gotten started here, but I didn't have a chance to tell you guys. So in order to make your bracelet actually be a bracelet, one end does have to have a little bit of a loop. So you can turn it like a candy cane, like this, and then you can loop the end around your pipe cleaner like this, so that the other end will have a little hook. Okay, here, I'll do it one more time. So here's our pipe cleaner. Okay, let's do this all together if you haven't done that yet, just so we're at the same page. Here's our pipe cleaner. You can make it like a little candy cane, just like this. And then we take the end and loop it around so that we make a little loop. See, on the end of our pipe cleaner. That way you have an end to stick your bracelet to after you put the beads on. Very good, David, perfect. Yep. Alyssa, very good. Okay. Let's see. Molly and Izzy, you guys still doing okay? Awesome, very good. Okay, let's see. Vivek, are you still doing okay? Yeah, doing good? Oh, very good, bud. Okay. Let's see. Riley and Liam, are you guys still doing okay? Thumbs up? Oh, very good. Awesome. Okay, so we all made the loop. Vanille, did you make your loop? That's okay. I didn't put my beads on yet. Oh, oh, Molly, that looks great. Very good. Very, very good. Oh, Vanille, great. Okay, so we're all at the same place. So we made our little loop. And I'm going to get started so I can put my first initial beads on here. And I'm going to double check. We still have some time, which is good. David, are they starting to fit for you? They're not fitting, bud? That's odd, because we all have the same beads. So it should, and we all have the same pipe cleaner, so it should. Can you show me how you're trying to put the bead on so I can help you? Okay. Oop, that's okay. I know they're tiny. Here, let's do it together, okay? Let me find, so my first one is a blue bead. So I know it's hard to find the hole sometimes. Oh, here, I see it on there. So you just have to finesse it a little bit because some of them are kind of furry. Ah, see, if you do this, David, if you kind of twist it, it's easier to get it on there. See, I'll get on there eventually. I think what's happening is some of the fur on some of the pipe cleaners are a little thick, so it just takes a little bit more, I don't know what you would call it. It takes a little bit more effort to get it on there. You know what? And if the bracelet part isn't working, what you could also do is you could always save the beads and put them in order and use string instead. If you have some string at home, you could always do it that way if you'd prefer not to use the pipe cleaner. Because I can see for some people the pipe cleaner is working well, and I can see for other people it might be a little bit more difficult. Okay. Alyssa, is it getting on there for you or is it not getting on there for you? Oh, the fur came off. Okay. Okay, well, in that instance then, that's a-okay. What you can do is you can save the pipe cleaner for your bristle bot program, and you can use a piece of string, or you can just put the beads in order for now and use anything like that. I'm not sure why. It looks like, oh, okay, it looks like some people are successful with it though. It looks like Ashton's are going on okay. So I apologize to those where if you're having trouble. but it's okay because at the end of the day, we're learning more about how coding works, right? And sometimes in science or math, or just in general, things can be a little harder than what we expect them to be. Let's see. Okay, give me 1 second. Yeah, sorry guys, if some of the pipe cleaners aren't working, I do apologize because I did test them at the library here and they were working, but then I think some of them might be a little thicker than they were. Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, so coworker Tim saves the day. So, so I have some green string here. Okay, so I'll just show you guys. Oh, hold on 1 second. Mr. Tim, can you grab me a pair of scissors, please? Thank you very much. So for those that the pipe cleaner is working, keep moving on with that to get your pattern. If it's not working, what you can do for now is you can put the beads in order. And like I said, you could always use string. But I do apologize. I don't know. Thank you. Don't know why some of them work and other ones don't. Molly, did the pipe cleaner work for you or was it giving you trouble? It's so. Okay. All right. Sorry about that, guys. I apologize. Okay. Well, it's okay. Here's the thing, and we all know this, right? Some things just sometimes don't work out, and that's okay. The important thing is we're all together, right? And we're doing things together, and sometimes things just happen, and that's okay. Let's see. Oh, okay. Well, I wouldn't suggest tearing all the fur off of it, just because then it'll just be metal, and it might be kind of sharp. But let me just show you. If we had string, and let's see. Okay. The good thing is most of us sometimes have access to this. If not, please let me know and I can always, when you guys stop in another time, can always get you some string too. Let's see. Okay, well, who at least, because of this, feels like they learned a little bit more about coding? Well, that's good. That's awesome. Oh, see, Ashton, that looks great. Very, very good. You guys should be proud of yourself either way because I know that this is something that's kind of hard to grasp sometimes. Let's see. So I'm going to take my blue bead and all right. Well, let's see. We actually have, my goodness, this program went fast. We actually have about 5 minutes left. That's because we were chock full of information, right? So I'm actually not going to continue to make this with the string because I think it'll take a little bit. Oh, that's okay, Alyssa. It's fine. That's a lot of the hair that came off the pipe cleaner. But that's okay. You can use anything that you have at home that might be just not as thick as this. Oh, you have to type in the chat though, because I don't have your audio on. So if you want to let me know something, you can go ahead and type it in the chat. But I do apologize that it didn't, let's see. Oh, okay. All right, so I think Ashton's grown up said if the wire is kinked, it makes it hard. You just have to work it a bit, but it does work. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Okay. Yeah, it can be a little finicky, but the most important thing, guys, is that we learned more about coding today, right? That is at the end of the day, we spent some time. Very good. Thank you very much, Ashton. I appreciate that. So I know that we are going to be doing our Bristlebot program next week, and that's going to be a lot of fun too. Let's see. Oh, you can make them out of rubber bands. Okay, Alyssa, that works awesome too. See, and that is truly a STEM thought. That's something to think about, guys, is what do scientists do? When, oh, Liam, that looks great. Very good. Okay, you're just using some different beads. That's fine too. That looks great. And that's the other thing too. Like you could use different beads if you would prefer as well. But when you're doing science experiments or you're doing engineering or basically in anything, computer programmers all the time run into something where something doesn't work. So they have two options. They could say, this app doesn't work, and they're going to put it down and never touch it again, or they keep doing something so it works out at the end. Oh, very good, Ashton. That looks great. You did a good job, bud. Oh, no kidding. Oh, well, see, that's such a cool connection then. Ashton, that's neat that your dad's a programmer. I could see why you were so excited for this program then. That's awesome. Air high five to that one, bud. That's so cool. Very good. All right, so let me see real quick. So we have about 3 minutes left. Oh, Riley, very good. Very good. All right, so what I would say as a final word of advice with this, if you want, don't give up on the pipe cleaner. As Ashton's grown-up said, if you keep working it, it is a little difficult. I could see where that would happen, 100%. But it should work. If not, you could always take what you learned from your worksheet and use any kind of beads that either have a dark bead or a light bead, and you could still make your bracelet. But you guys did a great job, though. Does anyone have any questions for me about coding or how the program went or anything like that before we end for today? If you do, you can go ahead and type it in the chat for me. All right. Let's see. Well, it looks like there aren't any questions. Aw, you're welcome. You're welcome, Ashton. Thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate it. And I hope to see you guys at the Bristlebot program. But if not, we'll keep doing, oh, you got really excited for that. They're really cool. They actually, well, you'll see it in your kit. They're made out of toothbrush heads. And they go bzzz, and they go all around the floor. And it's really neat. They're little robots. All right. So we're going to go ahead and end the program. If any of you have one final question, you can ask. Or, aw, bye, Molly. Bye, Izzy. Thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it. Oh, the catapult was fun. Yeah, definitely. All right, let's see. Riley and Liam, it was nice to see you. Thank you so much for learning about coding with us. Oh, you still have it. Ashton, that's awesome. It seems like so long ago that we did that, right? Bye, Alyssa. It was nice to see you. I hope you have more luck with your pipe cleaner. Sorry about that. Oh, bye, Vivek. It was nice to see you. Bye, Vanille. Have a great Friday. Aw, Riley, that looks great. You did a good job. I'm proud of you. Let's see, who do I have left? Oh, Ashton still has his catapult.
Bye.
Bye. It was nice to see you.
Bye bye.
Bye. See you, Ashton.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
I changed the catapult because I wanted to.
No, that's okay. It's yours. Bye. See ya.